Thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Vermel, joined by world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute, our senior fellow Jeff Wagstaff, and Aaron Jacobson. Now, on the line, this is exciting. We have J.D. Gordon, former Defense Department spokesperson and Fox News contributor. He's going to be speaking about the Bowe Bergdahl release. So thank you for joining us on the air today.
Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate it.
Well, this has been the controversy of controversies. Why don't you give us your take on this release, this trade-off with 5 terrorists for this gentleman? Give us your take on what you see and what you know.
Well, I appeared on the town hall with Sean Hannity this week. Rudy Giuliani appeared as well, and about 16 others. And, you know, it airs 3 times this weekend, Friday night at 10 p.m. and twice on the weekend, one Saturday, one Sunday. And we heard a range of views on the town hall. And my perspective is that this is a very dangerous movement for the United States. It's really a betrayal. And the reason it's that is because it's unprecedented in our history for a president to step in and release 5 of the top enemies during wartime for a soldier, any soldier, regardless of the circumstances. And the main takeaway that Al-Qaeda and the Taliban get from this, well, if they can get the Taliban's 5 top leaders for a deserter, imagine what they can get for a war hero. Kimberly, you know, we're talking about the Deputy Minister of Defense, the Deputy Minister of Intelligence, 2 governors, a provincial security chief. This is the cream of the crop. This is the Taliban dream team. And President Obama just gave him away for a soldier, and a soldier who was a deserter, by the way. So it's terribly dangerous for national security.
You know, everyone thinks this is some sort of right-wing conspiracy. How dare anyone speculate on what happened? But his own platoon has been all over the news, where at least Fox News, at least they're getting the word out there that this gentleman was a deserter. And they said even if he tries to claim himself he wasn't a deserter, well, unfortunately, they were the ones that were deserted. So they can come up with whatever backstory they want to sell the public. We know there's a lot of lip service with this administration, so I'll be the first one to say it. The only thing moving I see is lips. So why don't you talk a little bit more about this? Actually, I do have a question. You know, like you said, never in the history have there been a release of this magnitude for a deserter from his platoon and traded out for 5 top Taliban individuals. Now, do you think that maybe he was some sort of covert ops, and maybe that's going to be a story that comes out to try to save this guy? He really wasn't a traitor, but he was covert ops or something, and nobody knew?
Oh, no, not at all. I think he was just a delusional soldier. On June 27th of 2009, he wrote emails back to his family in Idaho saying that America is disgusting. He's embarrassed to be an American. Then he mailed home his books and his uniforms. His father, who's also very delusional too, in my opinion, his father, Bob Bergdahl, wrote back, "Obey your conscience." 3 days later, Bowe Bergdahl disappeared off post. His soldiers knew about it. He asked his superior on the 30th of June, 2009, he asked him after getting off guard duty, would there be problems if I left the base and took sensitive equipment? And basically his leader said, well, if you took your rifle and night vision goggles, yeah, of course there'd be problems. But guess what? He left them on the base and just took a knife and a compass. And, of course, he was captured by the Taliban. Who knows if he got Stockholm Syndrome, but he certainly identified with them. He apparently taught them badminton. There was a body language expert that was on television the other day making the rounds and basically saying that he read his body language during the release.
Didn't he also carry a gun at times?
Well, he carried a gun with the Taliban.
Yes.
Like he was one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And he was so tortured that they needed to release him 5 years after the fact?
Well, I know. That's the thing that really bothers me about this administration because, you know, President Obama broke the law by letting him go. Basically, by letting him go rather in return for these 5 Taliban top leaders. There is a law in the United States that when detainees are released from Guantanamo, the president has 30 days that he has to notify the Congress beforehand to make sure that they're appropriately vetted for security concerns, threat mitigation. He didn't do that, and so he broke the law. And so the president has no problem breaking the law, and so what the excuse was that Secretary Hagel gave was, oh, well, his life was in danger, his health was in danger. So now has Secretary Hagel and the president, have they become doctors? What American medical physician has interviewed the guy to know his life was in danger any more time now than in the last 5 years? So
Correct.
I just can't believe this administration. They just keep telling the American people one deception after another. I mean, they told the American people Benghazi happened because of a video. And Susan Rice was out there talking about how this Sergeant Bergdahl, who was actually a private first class and promoted twice when he was in captivity, a two-sergeant, she said he served with honor and distinction. I mean, it sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. She doesn't blame him out for the talking point.
Yeah, it sounds like disgrace to me, more or less. Dr. Bonatti, you had a question for Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, Mr. Gordon, I don't understand why all these lies and all this are never being punished, never being brought to a responsibility. I don't understand how, if this is against the law, why is not a movement to impeach Obama? We are talking about the necessity that this country needs to be once for all in some sort of a obey the Constitution and obey the law.
Okay, sounds like we lost J.D. Gordon. Let's see if we can get him back on the line. But he touched on something that when Bergdahl's father has been in the news, what we also have learned is just before his son was released, he was actually tweeting back and forth with the Taliban.
Right.
Now, this guy looks like he's part of the Taliban. And it seems that, I don't know if his political views align with them, or I can't imagine how a father would feel whose son, under any circumstances, was held. So I don't know what has drawn him to where he is.
Let's play devil's advocate, okay? And I'm not a supporter of this, but
Kimberly,
Ms.
JD,
Gordon,
you're back with us, correct?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, perfect. We were just briefly talking about Bo Bergdahl's father and being in communication with the Taliban. Do you think that, as a concerned parent, if it were my child that was taken, don't you think that all of a sudden you would try to do anything you could to try to talk to these people? Maybe he thought he was doing something good?
I think both Bo Bergdahl and his dad, Bob Bergdahl, are not mentally right. But, we have a country of 310 million people, and sometimes guys get in the military who are not mentally right, and their parents sometimes aren't. I mean, look at Bradley Manning, one of the worst examples of a guy who was just not right in the head and did tremendous damage. The fault, though, is with President Obama. That's the guy who had Bob Bergdahl at the White House in the Rose Garden with Bo Bergdahl's mom, Janie. The president ought to know better than to have this guy who talks about praising Allah and speaking in Pashto about his son and saying his son doesn't even speak English well now. How could his son not speak English now? He spent the first 23 years of his life in the United States.
Correct.
I just don't get it. This is the president's fault. This is the president's lack of judgment. It just shows you where his priorities lie. And I tell you what, they are not for national security for the United States, and that ought to trouble everybody in America.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Mr. Gordon, one thing that's important, before I lost you, I was trying to ask you a question. Why is not a movement to impeach Obama?
Well, Senator Graham was talking about that the other day, that if the president goes forward and keeps releasing detainees from Guantanamo against the law, without telling Congress 30 days in advance, including a threat mitigation plan, then yes, the Congress could go ahead and impeach him if he keeps doing it.
Yeah, but that's again the next time. You know something? I'm tired to listen the next time I'm going to put my pants on. You know what? You need to go ahead and say, you really pass the limits of the law here. You need to be impeached. And this movement needs to be done now. We continue with the same movement as the next time. And that's why these men continue using the Constitution as a little book to laugh at.
Well, I totally can understand that and relate to it. President Reagan used to say about politicians, when they feel the heat, they will see the light. So President Obama needs to hear from the American people through Congress and just from the public at large. We should be having rallies, marches, demonstrations.
Yes.
Those kind of things are the things that get public pressure for President Obama to do something or for the Congress to do anything.
But
basically, the administration and the Congress have to be pressured from the American people. The American people should hold the White House accountable for their actions. We should not stand for it. But, it's a battle of ideas because basically you'll have the left saying, oh, no, it's a right-wing plot. You even had the Deputy Assistant Secretary at HUD for Public Affairs saying, oh, well, these guys are, these platoon members, they're more psychopaths than good leaders. Unbelievably outrageous things like that. The White House is trying to say these platoon mates who basically know Bo Bergdahl, know what happened. They're trying to say he's swift-voting them.
Not only is a lack of respect for these heroes, is just only to try to cover the rear end for the damage that they did to the nation and the things that they are the lies that they continue perpetrating. They are saying now that these men, that they were fear for the life of these men. Why they don't are fear with the life of the guy that's sitting in Mexico?
Well, you're right. 6 soldiers died looking for Bo Bergdahl.
No soldiers.
Bergdahl is a deserter.
Yes. No soldiers left behind by this administration. We're coming up on the end of the segment. Thank you for joining us, J.D. Gordon, former Defense Department spokesperson and Fox News contributor. Really great conversation. We'd like to have you back at some other time. And you are listening to American Medicine Today on News Radio 970 WFLA. If you or someone you know is suffering with neck, back, leg, or sciatic pain, reach out to the Bonati Spine Institute at 855-267-0482 or visit Bonati.com. After the break, you're going to hear from Dr. Bonati about what's new in American medicine today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.